Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's episode, we take a look at the Storm Collectibles Baki Hanma Ogre. Today I'll be reviewing this figure in the following categories: accessories, articulation, design, is it essential to your collection, functionality, and price. Once those scores are totaled, I give you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. So for accessories, Ogre comes loaded. We receive 4 facial expressions. And each of those facial expressions really capture the character well. Look at this one. This has to be one of the better faces that Storm Collectibles has ever done. Not just this one, but each of them. And I don't know which one I like the most, but these are extraordinary. If you see the definition just really carrying through in the facial expression, and at times that's an area where Storm Collectibles miss, but they did not miss out on this one. There are wrinkles, there are veins. This looks absolutely phenomenal. In addition to that, you get a pair of interchangeable feet. This is certainly cool to have. You receive 6 pair of hands, 2 on the figure, which I believe are fisted. And when you come to the hands, they are done well. I really like the expressive nature of the hands. And if you look close at them, you can see the calluses forming upon the knuckles. Really like how these were done. And in addition to that, we receive soft goods. Storm, I want to see more of this, more soft goods with figures. No stand, don't think that it's needed. The only additional accessories maybe we could have had was a swooshing effect. So for overall accessories, I'm going to give Ogre a 10 out of 10. So for articulation, I'm expecting this to be a good one. So for the head, it moves back pretty far considering that he has longer hair. All the way forward, rotation, good amount of tilt side to side, and it does shift back and forth. So with the arm, I'm notorious for popping these off, so I'm going to go about right there. Does do a full rotation if you choose to. Upper bicep cut. Elbows are double jointed, bending in about that much. The wrists are on a peg, so you get it to go in any direction that you need it to. As far as the torso, we have a floating A and then a B portion. So using the top, are we going to focus here? It does rotate. It crunches forward this much just using the top. About that much going backwards. Maybe that much side to side, and you get a good amount of rotation. Using the combination of the two, let's see if I can get this in focus. The figure crunches forward about that much. Backwards about that much. It's able to move this way, tilt. And as far as the butterfly joint, it collapses forward about this much, and it does shift up and down. So the figure's going in and out of focus. If this ends up being like this through the entire video, I'll re-record this portion. So with the legs, they are able to kick forward about that much. I think something popped off. It did. They tight rotation, but it moves inward that much, outwards that much. Double jointed knee kicking backwards that much. The foot is able to go down, up, tilt outside, unfortunately on an angle. Inside is a bit better, and you do have toe articulation. As far as the splits, he can split all the way. Forgot to show that the leg kicks backwards that much. Good morning, buddy. So for articulation, it doesn't disappoint. The head really can't be any better. The torso and arms work very well. Let's see that again. The legs, for the most part, work well too. Not great with the ankles. Storm tends to struggle on this portion. We could have a lot better movement there. So for overall articulation, I'm going to give Ogre a 9 out of 10. So for design, man, Storm Collectible really did a great job on this figure. I can't talk enough about these head sculpts. They are just phenomenal. Hopefully the vein work is coming across on the camera. But man, did they ever capture the expression of his face. This has to be one of the best that we've seen. And even those expressions are translated into the neck area. As you can see, the character tensing up, everything is flexed. Of course, the muscles themselves are exaggerated. That's not on Storm. That is in the cartoon itself. Turning to the back, you see the image of, I'm going to say, a demon right here. The muscular is supposed to be the eyes as well as the face. Cool idea. And I think it came across pretty well. Now, one thing that's a bit unfortunate, if you can see these black marks here, this comes from the trunks. And I'm surprised that it left a black mark, as they are very soft. This is not a rigid material at all. So as I was lifting the leg, we have some, let's call them scrape marks. I'm not happy about that. So here is Ogre all in his gear. Couldn't think of a right word. Couldn't think of a word instead of saying clothes. Here he is in his clothes. One thing that I forgot to mention while we had him nude was that he does have a lot of shading throughout. In my mind, I saw someone do a custom, so I'm like, well, maybe he could have had more shading, but I think it's pretty good for what Storm Collectible has given us. And with this, his clothes, they fit so well. Like, the shirt is very tight, but not restrictive. Exactly how a t-shirt should fit. And then you have the pants, which are a little bit loose as they appeared in the series. And yes, I swapped out his feet. And you can see some calluses here as well. Don't know if I mentioned that about the hands. If I didn't, I really like how that looks. So for design, man, I think Storm did a phenomenal job. And for Ogre, I'm going to give him a 10 out of 10. So is Ogre essential to your collection? Well, Ogre is the main protagonist in the series and just happens to be the father to the main antagonist. Ogre is known to be the strongest creature on the planet and is a master of several disciplines, including martial arts, culinary, music, and other forms of either entertainment, fighting, or education. Ogre is the mountain that Baki is trying to surpass, and most of the series is spent with Baki attempting to reach those heights. Now, as far as action figures, there isn't much in the Baki series. However, you do find the following company created action figures about 20 years ago. And if you take a look at them, maybe at that point they were pretty decent action figures, but right now they are pretty outdated and really don't do a good job of looking like Ogre. So for anyone who's a fan of the series and is looking for an action figure, I feel like this is the one that you have to go with. So as far as being essential to your collection, I'm going to give Ogre a 10 out of 10. So for functionality, the figure clearly passes the stand test. He is balanced very well. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to put his clothing on. I'm going to move the head first, maybe the fist. This material stretches a bit. Hopefully it's not too hard. I'm not going to be able to do this on camera, so I'm just going to pause it. Okay, so this is how I decided to tackle this, removing the head as well as the arms. Okay, that wasn't difficult to do. Before I pop the arms back in, I'm just going to go ahead and put the legs on, and you can see I removed the feet. Okay, so I ran into an issue. I was under the impression that this was Velcro. I felt around, realized that it wasn't. I tried to finagle the belt loose, not pulling tightly, and then it snapped apart. I wasn't nervous at first, but now I don't think that this attaches. So this may be broken. I'll see as we get further along. The pants are extremely tight. I did not think that they would fit this way. I started to remove the legs, place the legs in the pants and try to attach it. But first I did it this way. And then this popped out of the back. You can see this opening here. Now this piece plugs in. What I'm assuming happened with this piece is that the stem broke. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to work my way up, and hopefully I could get these pants up. Okay, here we go. The back part is back in. This part is not attached. So let's go ahead and talk about this. This was not a great design. They should have either went with something magnetic, they could have went with a wire through this belt, or they could have done Velcro. So I will be deducting points for this. I'm gonna use this opportunity to attach his bare feet, and that's easy enough. Pretty sturdy. In order to get the arms back on, my advice is to take this peg, extend it all the way to the top like I've done, and then just wiggle until you hear that snap, and then fix the shirt. Actually, what I'm going to say is the better method, if you don't mind stretching the shirt a little bit, is to push the arm through the opening and then pop it in like so. The reason this is the better option, I feel like when you do it the first way that I showed you, you're stuck with this, and I just can't get this shirt to maneuver right around his arm. Now let's go ahead and put the hand on. Let's go ahead and check the stability as we had swapped the feet, and he stands just fine, and this is great. And I need to maneuver the shirt a bit better, but I'll get to that. This is killing me with this part. Guess in the meantime, well, after the video at some point, I'm just gonna have to glue this part. Yeah, that sucks. So how does the figure move? We are not going to go through the whole stream of articulation. Just to show you, the arm is not restricted at all. The legs are not restricted at all. And the feet are very sturdy. You have to apply some force to be able to pull them down. There's a toe hinge here, which is very, well, it's kind of tight. And to swap the heads and hands are very easy. Very happy with this. The soft good is an excellent touch and doesn't restrict the figure. This is the sore thumb, however. And as I thought about this, I cannot glue this unless I want this to be the permanent way that this figure looks. If you glue this, you're going to be unable to remove the pants. So glue is not a viable option. I'll have to figure something out. I do have to take blame for this. Having instructions included would have perhaps helped me from making the error that I did. Hopefully you won't make that same error. So for the belt, I'm actually going to remove 2 points. It just could have been done better. And for overall functionality, I'm going to give Ogre an 8 out of 10. So for pricing, Ogre comes in at $100. Add in taxes, add in shipping, you're looking at a price point of roughly $114. So now is Ogre worth the price of admission? Well, let's see what he comes with. In terms of accessories, you get 4 beautifully sculpted head sculpts, some of the best that Storm Collectible has produced to date. In addition, you receive a plethora of hands, something that we are very used to with Storm Collectibles. Now, the item that we're not used to receiving with Storm Collectibles is an entire soft goods outfit for this character, which, please, Storm, give us more soft goods. You need to do this with that Samurai Showdown line and characters like Geese. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here. Those soft good elements really add a nice touch to this figure and helps to accept that price of $100 for a figure of this scale. Now, while this character doesn't have any moves that would warrant having an effect piece, I wouldn't mind if Storm would have thrown in some sort of swiping effect. I think that would have been pretty cool for the character. Now with pricing, I do not like to see Storm figures over that $100 mark. I feel a sweet spot is really around $80. I do need to be fair and think about that this figure does have soft goods, which would mean that this figure should be priced slightly higher than the other figures, so I'm struggling on how to score this one. So for pricing, I'm going to give this figure a 10 out of 10. That should give Ogre an overall cliff score of. So now is this figure a pass or a purchase? Let's not waste time. This is an absolute purchase, whether you are a fan of Baki or not. This character can fit in with any of your other Storm Collectibles licenses, right with Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. He'll make a great villain on the shelf. Well, maybe he doesn't have to be a villain. And this, without a question, is one of Storm Collectibles' best. Last year I said that about Balrog. There is no question that this figure will be on my top 12. I cannot imagine another 12 figures beating this one in 2025. So I was rambling. In case I didn't say it, it is an absolute purchase. Here's Ogre by itself, and now this head looks small. Okay, here's the Ogre with a McFarlane's DC Multiverse figure. Let's see if I can get him to stand. Okay, this figure's definitely not balanced. Let's go ahead and add in this from the company that I cannot pronounce. We have to expand this. Hope this comes across better in camera. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's throw in a Jada Toys Street Fighter figure, Fei Long, excuse me. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's throw in his son. Baki. The one thing that I didn't love about this Baki figure, I felt like the complexion was too pale, but maybe it's accurate to the anime. That belt is driving me crazy. Luckily, I have two, so maybe I'll go one with clothes, one without. So thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. I hope to see you during the next episode.